You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You look at what's happening right now in our climate, issue of race and police shootings, and a lot of people are simply fed up. Well, Nate Parker's dropped this new movie. It's called American Skin. It follows up, of course, from The Birth of a Nation, one of the most unbelievable movies I have ever seen. This movie getting lots of attention. Check out this trailer.
You remember me?
How you doing tonight?
Doing well, officer.
Can I see your driver's license, registration, and insurance, please?
Of course. My license is right here, my wallet. It's all right, son. You remember the night in July?
Hands up! Hey! Wait! Put the phone down! Put that phone down! Sorry, it's a phone! It's a cell phone! It's just a cell phone!
You knew he was unarmed.
Get to the car and put your hands in the air! Officer, please, he's just a kid!
You pointed your gun at him.
Kid, get out of the car, son. Easy.
He pulled the trigger.
Put the phone away! Put the phone away!
The grand jury determined that no probable cause exists to file any charges against Officer Randall.
This is my son. This is my little boy. You took that from me. The world took that from me. Today we make that right. Hear me when I say this, because I'm only going to say it once. Don't stop filming.
You should just give up now.
Why are we the only people in this country that are expected to do things without violence?
I didn't mean to kill your son!
What you did.
I did what I was trying to do!
I just want justice. That's all I want. This is your jury. The deciders of your fate. Today, you will be tried for the murder of my son. You scared? Are you afraid?
Nate Parker, welcome back to Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Good to see you, brother. It is always good to be here with you.
Man, you sent me this a year ago to check out. It's now, it's out. It dropped today. It is getting lots of attention. And what was the motivator for you to say, I got to tell the story this way?
Well, you know, it's interesting for me, my way in. I got custody of my nephew, who was 13 at the time, and brought him from the neighborhood that I grew up in Portsmouth, Virginia, and brought him here to California, put him in a very good school, and he would ride his bike to school, and then Michael Brown got killed and murdered. And I'm watching the news with my nephew, who is beautiful, dark-skinned, 6 foot, 13-and-a-half-year-old. And he turns to me and says, Uncle Nate, what do I do if when I'm riding my bike, I get pulled over by the police? And, you know, the immediate reaction was like, well, you know, it's me. You call me. I'll be there wherever you are. And then I said, well, don't pick up your phone. Don't grab for your phone. Just slow down. You know, put your feet down very slowly. Put your hands up when you can. Make eye contact so we can see your face, see you're not a threat. You know, so he can see your humanity. I'm talking to him about how to conduct himself, and he's looking at me with his eyes bulging. And I realized very quickly that I'm traumatizing him, that me and all of my attempts to push us forward and be involved with activism, I don't have an appropriate or sufficient answer for my nephew, who is now at a great school, to protect his life. You know, it was as if I took him from out of the frying pan into the fire. And I felt to myself, I said, I got to get an answer for him, you know? And so went to Ferguson, went to when Aaron Garner got killed, went to New York looking for an answer for my nephew, and realized the dysfunction when it came to addressing police violence in our country, and decided to attack it with my art. And that is when I started the kernel of that idea of how do I force this conversation between these two groups of people. Of course, those who are being murdered and those who are the murderers in the system that perpetuates that behavior. And out of that need for an answer for him, I wrote this script and then shot the film.
The thing that jumps out, that line that you just said in the trailer, all I want is justice. And that's the one thing we constantly hear in this scene where the DA announces no charges. And it's case after case. It is very rare. First of all, it's rare for an officer to get charged. Even rare for them to be found guilty.
Mm-hmm. And becoming more and more rare every day. When people talk about progress, I mean, the reality is when you look back, you look at Rodney King and how he was beaten into within an inch of his life. Those officers were charged. There was a trial. Now we know that how they handled that trial and all the things that they did to ensure those officers would not face any type of prison time. But then you fast forward, brothers and sisters are dying, and they're literally just saying, "Well, so what?" It's like it's the biggest middle finger to the humanity of Black people in this country, because there's no reasoning, there's no dialogue. They show a picture of a cop throwing a barbecue for some Black kids, and they show a picture of a cop hugging a Black kid on Instagram, and all of a sudden we forget. But I guarantee that Michael Brown's father, right now, wherever he is, he's mourning his son. Tamir Rice's mother, right now, wherever she is, she's mourning her son. And the list goes on and on and on. So the question is, where's the backstop? At what point do we do something differently?
In this movie, he's taking out justice, a vigilante. And you will have people who will say, man, I wish I could do that. Mm-hmm. And you clearly are not trying to say, do this. But right. Through the art, you're really speaking to just the anger and the frustration of nothing being done to actually fix the problem.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. How many mothers and fathers that have seen these videos of these Black children being decimated in the streets said to themselves, I hope that doesn't happen to me. And really not really having a response if it did. This film isn't instructing anyone to do anything, and it's not, and it offers, as you saw, more questions than answers, really questions of what are we willing to do to change the narrative. I don't want to be in that situation with my nephew. And this film, in some ways, is just a cautionary tale. It's saying, let's force this conversation now and have it within the context of art, so we don't have to see this happen. With or without this film, if this continues on, we will see much worse, because we love our children desperately. I know I'm willing to die for mine. So this film was for me to create a full stop. We talk about the conversation between law enforcement and the citizens that they terrorize, but we never have the real conversation. We talk about the conversation. And I think that the systemic, the way that the infrastructure around law enforcement, how policing is not only enacted, but how the curtain between these peace officers and us, it is so strong that you couldn't just walk up to a cop and say, hey, can we have a conversation about the things that are happening in America? So this character, Lincoln Jefferson, he has no choice but to force that conversation. And we are able to have a private moment in public meeting for the audience to see.
Questions from my panel. I'll first start with Michael Imhotep.
Sure.
Michael?
Hear me? Okay. Hey, how you doing, Nate? It's good to have you
Peace,
on.
brother. Great to be on.
Thank you. Question for you. Did you see similarities between the Nat Turner movie that you did, Birth of a Nation, and the portrayal of Nat Turner and Nat Turner's fight for justice? Did you see similarities between that and the character that you portray in this movie? And by the way, I did get your book The Birth of a Nation, Nat Turner and the Making of Movement. That's the official tie into the movie as well. It's an excellent book also.
Thank you. Well, to be honest, I think that there are similarities not only between The Birth of a Nation in this film, but also Malcolm X and Harriet, and the film that was done Toussaint. I think any narrative that addresses the question of how will we move forward in a way that protects our bodies, what we should and should not tolerate. These are themes that I believe we need to, as artists, bring to the forefront of consciousness more often than not. If not, we will find ourselves in these situations all the same. So for me, it's never a question of what can I do to make a film that's like another. For me, it's like, okay, how can I contribute to the conversation? The reality is, brothers like Roland are doing the work every day in the trenches. I'm just an artist. This is not, the answer. I'm no savior. This film is no savior. I'm just trying to contribute to the conversations that are happening every day on the ground. The conversations being driven by Black Lives Matter, being driven by Color of Change and some of the extraordinary organizations doing the work. I just think that we should do, as Nina Simone says, as artists, we have to reflect the times. It offers an intersection without us actually having to deal with this actual situation in real life.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Question from Kelly Bethea.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Nate. It's a pleasure to meet you virtually. Hello?
Yeah, go ahead. He got you.
Okay, no, I'm sorry. I'm very excited for this movie, first and foremost. You always hear when you're talking about creative processes about art imitating life. In this case, this is more or less art depicting life, and coming from your movie Birth of a Nation, your creative process, I can imagine, was a little bit different because there was a historical reference to it. There was a historical distance from the current day to, the day of Birth of a Nation. But this movie is talking about now. This is literally art depicting life. So my question for you is, as a Black man, what is and an artist specifically, as a Black man artist, what is your creative process to go from Black man to Black man?
I think my process, it's rooted in my experience, in the same way that I wake up and wonder what I'm going to intersect in life that may challenge me or put me in a position where I either have to cower or have to stand and fight, and what that means for my family. The reality is that so many of us, Black men, Black women, wake up and have that thought subconsciously every single day. So I always say my art is a reflection of my activism. When I look at my children and I look at the legacy that we're in the process of leaving them, I often feel embarrassed and hopeless. So I don't think there's a magic bullet, but I do believe this: the day that I lay down, minutes from my last moment, when I'm about to leave this world, and hopefully I'll be surrounded by people that, generations of people that I love, that love me. I just want to feel like I've done my part. When you look at the work of, Dr. King, as we are approaching his day, he did everything he did for the world before he was my age. He did it all and died before he was my age. So when you talk about going from Black man to Black man as an artist, really I'm going generation to generation, or legacy moment to legacy moment. I just want to look back and have something that I can look at my kids and say, I did this for you. Nat Turner's story exists for you. This story addressing police brutality and the controlling of our bodies and the destruction of our bodies, intimidation of our bodies is addressed in this film. And whatever I do moving forward, I just want to feel like I've contributed to the lexicon of our liberation. And I think that that goes for many Black men I know. I won't speak for Brother Roland, but being someone that's been on this show many times, knowing how desperately he wants our freedom, knowing how much he loves us, I would go so far to say that is his agenda as well.
Absolutely. Rod Richardson.
Yeah, Nate, first of all, thank you for your work. Thank you for expressing your work in a way that relates to so many and changing the narrative. And as we talk about changing the narrative, I'd like to ask my question along those lines. It seems like and you said this earlier, you're aimed at two different audiences, essentially. Black people who are being victimized by this process, and those who are actually perpetrating the crime against us and violating our bodies. What narratives do you want to change with both of those audiences? If you had to just sum it up for each one of those audiences, what is the narrative you want to get through to change to each one of those audiences with this piece?
Well, for Black people, it's just relentless action. I think we must continue, because I think we're doing it, to recognize until all of us are free, none of us are free. And I think that if we can adopt that and lock arms in that and create solidarity in that and turn away from any type of divisive or pacifying tactics, we will continue to march forward and toward freedom. You know, we don't know what it looks like because we've never had it in this country. And for those who are decimating our bodies, you know, I had the I wouldn't say pleasure, maybe for pleasure with respect to the information I gathered, but I interviewed dozens of police officers, Black and white and Hispanic, and nearly every one of them asked to be, you know, to comment on the condition of anonymity. And I found that interesting because if we are to believe that the money that we're paying, our tax dollars, are going to the salaries of these peace officers, and you know, also going to getting them let off with respect to its place in the judicial system, it's a question of, well, shouldn't you stand by what you do on a day-to-day basis, with respect to your job? And it's not the case. I talked to officers that said anyone that tells you that they don't racially profile, or they're just not telling you the truth. You know, a lot of the dialogue that you hear in the film is dialogue taken directly from my interviews and my research from law officers that say, look, this is how it is. And my challenge to law officers, to us, and anyone that watches this film is to ask ourselves, are we satisfied with firing one officer that kills one person and that being the end all to that pain, that being the healing process? Or are we willing to commit to destroying or reconstructing the very system that creates that widget, right? Because I'm a big believer in programming, and I believe that these officers are doing what they're programmed to do, a lot of them. And unless we attack it on a systemic level, we can expect this film to be relevant 10 years from now. People talk about how relevant the film is. It's like, yeah, but I made this film in the beginning of 2019, before George Floyd, before the insurrection. Yep. You know, 10 years. So if 10 years ago this film would have come out, would it have been relevant? Absolutely. And if we're not careful, 10 years from now, if I would have held it and put it out, it would have been just as timely, and we would have still been having the same conversation.
Nate, people are asking, where can they see the film? Is it streaming or is it in movie theaters? Where can they see it?
Oh, well, we're in movie theaters in 31 cities, limited, obviously, with COVID. We want to be safe. So in states that aren't open, we're not there. We're doing drive-ins. You can go to my Instagram or into AmericanSkinFilm.com, and it'll tell you the theaters it's playing. It's also streaming anywhere where you can rent and buy movies. So iTunes, Amazon, it's everywhere. So if you just go into your browser and type "Watch American Skin," or go to your Apple TV or Google Play, it's tonight and at midnight. Just this morning, it became live, so you can watch it anywhere. And I encourage you, two things: one, watch it in the dark and as big a screen as you can with people that you care about, because when you're done and you turn on those lights, you're going to have a conversation. And I would encourage anyone that listens, that watches the film, to engage in that conversation and try to come out of it with action items, whether they're policy driven, whether they're heart and soul driven, whatever side that you're on. I hope that that's something that starts a conversation that touches your heart and mind.
Well, I've got an 82-inch, so I'm going to watch it on that one. So that we'll watch it big.
That's the movie theater right there.
It's and it is it's good to see you back in the trenches, doing the great work. My last question for you: how does Spike Lee get involved in this?
It's a great question. Spike Lee is my brother, my mentor, my friend. At times, my patriarch. I call him for advice. And when I told him I was making this film, he said, well, the second it's done, make sure I get to see it. So I finished it, flew it to New York. He was the first person to see it, him and my other friend, Steven Soderbergh. And we sat in this theater. I rented the theater out, smaller thing. And we watched it. And it just so happened to be the day where the officers did not go charge. They got off for the Eric Garner murder. And with the emotion in the room when we watched it, I just remember him standing up and pacing. And you know Spike, if you know how he is when he gets passionate, he just was lamenting about where we are and how this is our reality, and how he made, Do the Right Thing and had Radio Raheem, a brother who got choked to death, was based on someone he knew in New York. And here 30 years later, where Eric Garner's killers get off on that day that he watches a film that is about more police brutality. And he said, brother, anything I can do to support you and stand with you and moving this film forward and getting it to the masses, I'm with you. And I honor him for that. He stood next to me, and we've taken this film to Italy, and it did very well in Italy, did very well in Spain. And these are people that don't speak the language. So I just hope that people continue to see it and have the dialogue, the hard dialogue that creates the type of healing that we need.
Folks, the movie's called American Skin, starring Nate Parker and Amari Hardwick. Nate, we appreciate it, brother. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, brother. Anytime.
Yes, sir. Thanks a bunch. All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.